Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Raw Daddy Hour, the final episode of Season 1. To my left, the drip god. Got the chest out and everything. To my farthest left, we have Queen Vicky herself blessing us yet again. Today, guys, you already know what we're getting into. We're going to be talking about interracial dating, our thoughts on interracial dating, and we're just going to get into it, the good, bad, the ugly. Vicky, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, you're going to start with me?
I'm going to start with you. Ladies first. Your thoughts on interracial dating.
My general thoughts on interracial dating. So I don't have a problem with interracial dating. I think that you can date whoever you want, as long as your motives and intentions are you have good intentions and good motives. So there aren't any type of negative stereotypes behind it. Like, oh, this person is from this place, which means they're going to be like this, so I want to date this person. So as long as it's just, oh, I met this person, they happen to be a different race or a different ethnicity, whatever it is, and you date, fall in love, whatever, then that's cool. But as long as, well, we can get into that later. We can get into that later.
Shad, how you feeling, man?
Personally, I don't have any preference. I'm on the same boat as Vicky, that date who you want, date who you are attracted to, draw a connection with, as long as you're not putting down other races or people from different ethnicities or anything like that. Everyone has their own preference, like everyone has preference, but it's when you start kind of ranking races and saying, oh, this race is better than that race, or I only date this race because X, Y, and Z, and like you said, kind of have those stereotypes and you're highlighting that's when it becomes a problem. I personally don't really feel like that if you like a certain thing about a certain race, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's part of having preference. But again, I think it's when you're putting down other races where it becomes a problem. Because like for me, like if you like ice cream, I like strawberry ice cream because X, Y, and Z. As long as I'm not putting down, even though chocolate is trash.
Chocolate ice cream.
What you trying to say, Shad? What you trying to say?
Chocolate ice cream is the worst.
Chocolate ice cream is trash. But again, I like strawberry ice cream or I like vanilla ice cream because of these things. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like that because of those things. As long as we're not putting down other, again, races or anything like that.
Yeah, like putting down black women.
Right, facts. No, so I'm all for date whoever you want. So not just interracial dating. Date whoever you want. Now, what that comes with, so we're not beating the same horse, what that comes with is if you like someone or you love someone, you should be able to profess that love without putting someone else or a whole generalization of people down. Because in my opinion, if you're trying to put someone else down to make whoever you love seem more special or better, then I question if you really even love that person. Or are you dating them as some sort of stance or some sort of message to those that may have, I don't know, whatever has happened to you in your past. So yes, I'm for interracial dating. I'm for dating, period, as long as the intentions are correct. Like you said, did you genuinely meet this person? Did you genuinely fall in love with this person? Or was it, oh, so-and-so was rapping about Asian women, so I went out and got me an Asian. You know what I mean? I want something foreign. Like that I'm not for. That I don't support. I support if you love someone, that you should be free to love someone. I don't like this notion that, I'm just going to pick someone that, flatters society or flatters, other people. So in that respect, Shad, I wanted to go to this. How do you feel about people having an opinion, such a strong opinion on those that date outside their race? Specifically in our community, black people having an opinion on those that choose to date outside their race.
It's funny because for me, I have when I grew up in going through high school, I had girlfriends and stuff like that. Where I'm from is predominantly black and Hispanic. Like I didn't get around a multitude of races until I went to college. And it's funny because like my first year of college, summer break came home, and I had a relative who made like this comment to me, and it really put me aback. I think we were like a birthday party or something like that, and it was a bunch of women kind of standing around talking, and someone said to me, they said, "Say, so Shad, are you dating anyone?" And I'm like, yeah. Like, oh, you're probably dating like a bunch of white women, right? And I'm like, I said, excuse me, what? I was like, no. I mean, and I asked, why would you say that? And they said, you seem like the type who would date, white women, and then and you're up, you're up in Rhode Island, so I know it's a lot of. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of white women up there, but I mean, there's Cape Verde, black, and so like that really, and again, that was my first interaction with that kind of just messaging or thought process from a black woman, and it kind of it really took me aback because I even to this day, like I think all women are beautiful. I wouldn't have a problem with dating anyone from any other race, but I've only ever dated black women. So it's like, and up until that point, I was young, but I was messing around with black women in college, and I had a black girlfriend in high school. So it was like, I'm like, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? So, and again, I didn't ask that at the time. It was just all this stuff was kind of running through my head. I did ask why would you think that? And they gave me that response, but it was very, and I will never forget that because like it really kind of like struck me as like, wow, why would someone automatically think that of me? Like, what did I do? What do I project that makes someone think that I would, be messing around with a whole bunch of white women, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. And again, I think there are white women that are beautiful, but I mean, my preference has always been black women. So, again, I don't, and again, it's really deep rooted. I can only assume why, black women feel that way. But again, like, I feel like when it comes to people who date outside of their race, unless you have a valid reason to kind of like speak on it, again, someone talking down about black women or something like that, then okay, speak on it. But if you're just speaking off of it from the optics of it, so just seeing a black man with a Hispanic, white, whatever Asian woman, and you're speaking down on that relationship, I don't think that's fair. Because you don't know the dynamic of that relationship, how they got there, why they're in that space. So I feel like mind your own business. Like, you don't have to live in the house with this person. You don't have to walk through life with this person. Let them love who they love and keep it pushing. That's just my take on that.
Well, we have a black woman here.
Yeah.
I would love to get your perspective.
Definitely. Please shed some light on clear up my college traumatizing experience. I would never forget that.
I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Those questions and those comments, those come from our experiences of seeing what happened. So especially if you've gone to like a predominantly white university or college with a great athletic program, those athletes, not all of them, but there's a good amount that will be fraternizing with not the black women, or they get attention from, the white women or whatever. If we're talking just about like black people right now. So there's this like, as black women, we are, it is true that we are like the most disrespected, like we're not protected. So that's where that comes from. We always feel like we have to have like a defense up or just be strong about something. So I'm sure that's why she felt, empowered to approach you in that manner and say something like that, because she's probably thinking of her own experiences. Well, maybe she wanted to date a black guy, but he was only interested in white women or Hispanic women or whatever it is. So that's where that kind of like that where that comes from on our end, which is valid. Like, our feelings are valid, because I think that there are things within society or media that kind of validate those things. However, just like you were saying, like, if you just see a random interracial couple on the street, you don't know the context in which they met. You don't know any of those things, so you can't really comment on that. But when people do, or when people are, I think what you were saying is like, how do you feel about people who are just really adamant or really feel a certain way about interracial relationships? It comes from those personal experiences, I think, or how they may have been treated or whatnot. So,
Yeah, I can definitely, and especially to your point about media, how they really do push a narrative of black men make it. They go get white women. You got the songs, the TV shows, all this stuff. They show black families that are really mixed families, so all that stuff. So no, I definitely understand that. I do think the packaging of those types of questions, or that communication between black man, black woman, can be a lot better. I do think that we can kind of, like, I've gotten that comment, dude, not even just college, like to this day, I get that. Oh, he looks like he dates white girls.
But like, yo,
and you've
like,
never seen me with a white girl. Like,
it's
now I have
crazy.
dated white women before. Not a lot, but I have dated white women before. But you have never seen a picture of me with a white woman. You have rarely seen me do shoots with white women. You have, first of all, a lot of these people have never seen me in real life. So I always ask that question, like, for one, where does that come from, right? And for two, why, when we hear the term interracial dating, is it automatically black man, white woman? Why is that
it's the largest
automatically
disparity.
the thought? I think that's part of what we need to shift, is that thinking that, oh, because he does this, he likes that. Oh, because he was a swimmer, he must only like white women. Oh, because he talks a certain way, or because he went to West Virginia for school.
Because he played
that's
lacrosse.
all he liked. Yeah, because he played lacrosse. He was an ice skater. Hey, look, you could be all those things and still date whoever. So one of the things that I always like to think about when I talk to people who have these strong feelings about only dating one race is culture. They always talk about keeping it within the culture, how hard it's going to be to, take your culture and teach them, and you take some of their culture. And to that, for me personally, I don't have a problem with learning someone else's culture. I personally don't view that as a huge barrier. I don't view that as something that's like, oh, that's a no-go. You have this about you. I don't like that. So for me, I like to be very versed in all of the different types of human beings on this earth. I don't have a preference in terms of whose culture is better and who does this, but I really could care less, because in my eyes, at the end of the day, we're all individuals. And at the end of the day, we all bring something unique, whether that's you date in your own race or you date interracially. I've dated inside of my race and outside of my race, and I don't see any disparages that I could just pinpoint as a race issue. It's a person to person. Some people just don't communicate well. That's not a one race thing. That's not a one gender thing. That is a human being thing, right? And I feel like if your values and what you value are at that level where it's a humanity thing, like, this is what I want out of a relationship, not this is the type of thing or the type of person that I want in this relationship, then I think you'll find that oftentimes we're all the same. Like, we're not that different. It's not that, like, it wasn't that different for me dating black, Hispanic, Arab. It wasn't that different. We had the same problems that every other relationship has. Just more eyes on us when we go out. That's really the only difference. So I would ask you guys, how do you feel about cultural differences? Like, is that a barrier to you?
I think that the culture piece is a building block of relationships. I feel like that's when I think about, again, like the black community and, dating someone of the same culture of you as you have more things to kind of relate to, like when it comes to family dynamic and things, just like different things that you do, or being able to understand where that person is coming from. Some people, I would assume that some people really feel like that they're just more comfortable dating with inside of their their race and culture, because you don't have to really explain a lot of things. You get it. I think that when you are dating outside of your race, there is a bit more work when it comes to building, a foundation for a relationship. But again, I don't think that that should be like a deal breaker or something that you have to be from this. Some people, you have to be from the same culture. I mean, there's other countries where they marry you off and they don't want you to date outside of a certain tribe or whatever the case may be. And again, that's for those recent reasons. But me personally, I just feel like, again, I'm kind of like you. Like I feel like when you are able to experience other cultures and have understanding of other cultures, it makes you a more well-rounded person. That's just my personal opinion. That doesn't say you have to date outside of your race to learn that stuff. But again, like when you're immersed in it like that, you have a different appreciation for it, and you're able to understand things from a different dynamic. So, again, I don't think that dating outside of your race and accepting other cultures or trying to learn other cultures to be a deal breaker. You should just try your best to really understand people, understand where they come from, if you truly love that person. And if you want to keep it in the race, it ain't nothing. Yeah, do you? Ain't nothing wrong. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You say you like it, I love it.
I love it. I mean, I'm never gonna be the type that looks across the room and be like, oh, why is she with him? You'll never catch me doing that, bro.
But why? But why is that though? Like, why do you why? Because I go back to what you said before. Like you have a preconceived notion of what you think someone is going to do based off of your own personal experience. Why am I going to generalize that for every single black man that may be walking next to a white woman and just assume that, oh, he's hanging out with her, so he probably has he's probably dated white women before?
I think it's because it's this, at least I'll speak for myself. I feel like I see that a lot, and especially like I went to, I've been the only black person, in my class from like first grade to like 8th grade. High school wasn't much different. There was maybe 15 of us in our whole class, of a class of like 200, 250, and then I went to Ohio State, which is a predominantly white, university. So when I think about just my experience, or literally the things black men have actually said, like I date or I need a such and such girl because they're faster than y'all, or I need this whatever because they won't give me any attitude, or I can tell her to do whatever I want and she'll do it, but y'all don't be doing. That's the stuff that we hear a lot. I don't hear it as much as I've gotten older, and I hope that's because of growth, and maybe that was just dumb young guys, at the time. But these are things that we've heard, or we hear the exotic thing all the time. So these are things like when we see that, that's like what we're thinking about. So that's why it's like the first thing, whether we say it or not. And it's not all the time, I don't just be looking at interracial couples, as I'm out. But like, that's why that may happen frequently, that we have that preconceived notion like, oh, or like we see a guy and then he goes and stands next to him, we're like, oh, dang, another one. That's literally what it feels like sometimes. Because the truth of the matter is that a lot of us black women want black men. So, and we feel like it's scarce out here. So when we see that, we're like, dang.
Another one bites the dust, huh?
Yeah. And I get the cultural thing too. Whether it's a deal breaker or not, I think for certain cultures it can be a deal breaker, and I think it's understandable, especially because I'm Nigerian, so I understand like wanting to have someone accept your culture, and they don't get many chances when they're in front of your family too. So if they don't want to eat something or they turn their nose up,
Listen,
good luck trying to turn that around.
listen, you forget about it.
So, because if your parents start talking about, yeah, they insulted me, they didn't even speak when they walk in the house, they didn't do that. It's just, sometimes it's just easier to find a person who is open to learning another culture, or just finding someone within that culture. So I can understand that.
That's a little, yeah, that I have a lot of feelings on stuff like that, but I'll save that for another pod. But no, I want to go back to something you said about this is what you constantly hear, this is what you constantly have seen. And I do believe, like, especially for black men, I can't really speak to other races of men because I'm not around them that much, but especially for black men, I think our verbiage does need to be a whole lot better, from the music that we put out, from the way we speak about our own culture in interviews, to all of that stuff. Because like bringing it full circle, like we said in the beginning, you don't have to put anybody else down in order to justify your preference. And if you're doing so, then that comes from a place of not being sure of what you're doing, or some sort of self-hate. In that regard, I agree that does come from some sort of self-hate, because I can't say that I love math because I hate English. Like, no, you have to love math because you love math, not because you hate English. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? So I do agree with that, because I too went to a large, predominantly white institution. I went to West Virginia University, and I saw a lot of
You were the only
intermingling.
one.
Well, no, I wasn't the only
Just
one.
kidding.
It was a nice little 1% of us. You know what I mean?
Mostly athletes.
Yeah, mostly athletes. And we, I saw a lot of different mingling and mixing and matching, Asian on black, and, let men and women all, kind of doing their thing. And then you had the core group that stuck together, right? Because for me, because you said you went to predominantly white schools like your whole life. For me, growing up in Detroit, Michigan, I was only around, I didn't even have Hispanic people around me. I was only around black people for, I want to say pretty much until I went to college. Now, I was in a predominantly white sport, but I was on a all black team. So we didn't really mingle with our white counterparts. So for me, I only dated black up until I was about like 20 something. I think 20 something was like the first time that I ever dated outside my race. And for me, and this is what we're going to get into next, it came from moving around more and being introduced to these cultures, being confronted by the prejudices that maybe I had about these other different cultures, and having to work with these people, right? As I got into corporate America and I started to work around Indians, Arabs, Asians, more white people, and more educated black people, I started to be confronted by, okay, growing up in Detroit and seeing these things only on a screen, seeing these individuals only on a screen being portrayed a certain way, you start to work up in your mind like, oh, this is how they are. I would never date this type of person because they have this, and this about them that I don't like. When lo and behold, you never even met one and actually gave them the time of day to get to know who they are. And so that's what I want to go into next. How do we feel about the influence of, just say, living in one city for your entire life, or living in one country for your entire life? What effect does that have on your ability to even accept a person of another culture? Vicky, I'll go with you first.
So you're saying, like, if you've only been in one place, like, how does that affect your ability to
how do you know
like,
that that's all you like if that's the only thing you've ever been experiencing?
I think that, yeah, you can't really say that's all you like. If there are people who are adamant about, oh, I only like this, but they've never been around anything else, then I would question that. And, I'm kind of happy, like, with my own experience. My mom was very intentional about exposing us to other cultures. And I think because I'm Nigerian, we were all, in school, I was already other. Like, if I'm bringing rice and stew to school for lunch and these kids are looking at my lunch like, what's going on?
What's that smell?
So I kind of like had even though I was in Columbus for the first, 20 some years of my life, like, I still had interactions with other cultures. So I think that even if you're in the same place, you have to be intentional about understanding that there are other people out there, and actually making an effort to do so. But I understand that people kind of stick with, where they feel safe or comfortable, and that's where that comes from. Or they don't feel it's valuable to even step outside of, I guess you can call it their bubble. too.
But do you think that that's damning to society though? Because what that does is it allows for prejudices or even just straight up racism to persist, grow, and fester. The reason why, okay, so I just want to real quick. The reason why I believe that racism and all this other stuff is passed down so easily is because we do not have open communication amongst communities, amongst cultures. So you're allowed to let this one prejudice that you have in your mind stick with you, and then you pass it, and then it's passed, and then it's passed, and then it's passed. We could go back to the dude that infiltrated the KKK. All he had to do was talk to these people, sit down with them and have an open dialogue. And he was able to silence every ill thought that they had in their mind. Just because they had never been, how do you join the KKK and you say you hate black people? You never even been exposed to them. You never talked to them. So that's where I kind of get irritated with people sometimes when it's like, you've never even talked to someone of another culture. How can you tell me that they're not worthy of dating you? And this goes for all cultures. This is not just the black community. This is every community that I'm talking to. If you have not given another human being an actual chance, if you have not actually tried to figure out the character of that person, then you cannot tell me that a whole race of people is just not worthy of dating you. That is so ignorant to me. And I do place some of this blame on our older generations, these parents that have these strict ass standards of who their kids are going to date. You have to allow your children to get out here, meet people, actually, digest who they are on their own merit, not based off of your checklist. And I think a lot of people take someone else's checklist with them when they're looking for a partner. So that allows all this BS to fester, and that allows all of us human beings to just be angry at each other for no reason. No reason. I've never met a person in my life of any culture that just fit whatever stereotype I came into that conversation thinking they were going to fit. Never have. Yeah, I know you're about to say something.
I think
I haven't.
And I mean, and again, it's number one. I mean, you hit a lot of good points. Number one is generational. Like, it's that the thought process is passed down from great grandparents to great grandparents, grandparents. It's passed down. When you look at certain communities, the kids are growing up around mom, dad, grandfather, and they're all talking about different races in the same manner. So this stuff is being programmed in people's brains. And then when you couple that on top of not venturing out of your bubble, you never, like you say, you never get to experience or have a real life interaction with someone from a different race. Another thing that people do is they have one or two interactions with someone of a race, and they generalize a whole race based off of those one or two interactions. When, again, there's so many people with different perspectives on different things and carry themselves different ways that it's sad to generalize a race, or a culture based off of one, two interactions, or even scarier, what you're on social media scrolling and seeing. Like, that's the most dangerous thing to me, because again, I feel like with social media in this day and age, it's made the world smaller, and people are able, even though they're in their communities, they're able to quote unquote interact with people who are outside of their bubble. So they see someone who is black, who lives in Ohio, who goes to a predominantly white school, and they're talking about white people the way that my grandparents in my backyard are talking about them. So, it must be the same. If it's like that over or in Ohio, it's like that everywhere. And that's where it starts to get kind of like the waters start to get muddy. I'm a huge proponent of getting out and experiencing people. For me, again, I grew up around mostly black and Hispanic. I didn't have any real interaction with white people until I went to college. When I got to college, and Rhode Island's a small state, and I was starting to get more cultured there. But when I graduated and I was still running and I started traveling to other countries, then that even opened my eyes even more, because I was getting more authentic, interaction with people from different races, different cultures, and things like that. And you really start to see, again, like, everyone's not the same. Like, everyone comes into things with different baggage, with different ideas, different mindsets. You have to give people a chance. Here's the other thing too. I feel like, and this is kind of I want to kind of take a step back. So you said something to the effect of how Black women, how they see an interracial relationship, and they kind of harken back to their own personal experiences, and they start to generalize like those relationships based off of what they already experienced.
Some of us.
Okay.
I can speak for myself.
Uh-huh.
In that regard, I will not say all Black women.
Uh-huh.
Some Black women do that, but I'm just saying we do share like a lot of, if we talk, we share some of the same experiences.
And I feel like, and again, don't get me wrong, I feel like Black men do it too. Like, if like as a Black man or Black men, they see a Black woman dating a white guy, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Y'all be dragging us.
Or they be like, she dating him for his money or something like that.
Not you, Brent.
The whole community.
Yeah.
I know some scarlet letter givers out there, but that
facts. It's real. It's real. But my thing, so this is what I'm getting at, because I feel like the Black community, we hate when people generalize us. We hate it with a passion. Like, we get so angry, but we do it within our own community to each other, and that blows my mind. I can never understand it. Like, I'll see someone comment about a relationship or someone of the same race, and I'm like, how are you just generalizing that? If someone from another race generalized Black people, you would be going off the wall right now. So why? Like, how can we just walk around and do that to each other?
It's kind of like the kid who comes from an abusive household and he becomes a bully. It's like it's all you know. You know what I mean? I kind of hearken it to that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I have issues and I don't want to address them. So that trauma is going to get passed on. Trauma that's not addressed will get passed on. Hurt people.
It will.
That's as real
but
as it gets.
But I also think that within any group, like, even, I think it's not a good thing, but I think that comes with any large group of people. Like, there could be, just like how, like, when you're younger and you're in school and there were cliques of certain people, each clique had its own issue. Each clique, had their own generalizations of another clique. So I think that naturally happens when people get together or in some kind of likeness. So I think that's just going to happen naturally. But it's making sure that's not that you're actually growing and you're not staying in those things. I think it's understandable when you're young, you're like, oh, this is my bestie and she doesn't like so-and-so, so we don't like them because X, Y, and Z, Yeah. So so that's
crazy to me.
I mean, that's understandable when you're 13 or, like, you haven't really experienced anything, you haven't learned the value of a lot of things. Now that's an issue when you get to adulthood. You can't have that same kind of mindset. You have to understand that, like you're saying, you can't be upset when people generalize you and then generalize others, right? You have to understand that. But I think that just within the whole conversation, there's just a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack, especially when it comes to white and Black, because the country was built on white supremacy. The media tears Black people down. There are so many things that have oppressed us as a people, so that there are defense mechanisms that we build as well, and then introduce other factors. And we're talking about one factor, interracial dating. So of course there's going to be some sort of feeling within that, especially if you're dating a certain person. because the feelings may not be so strong if I see you with the Asian girl, but if I see you with the white girl, I might feel a little different, you know.
Why is that though?
But I think that has to do with,
interracial
you know,
is black white. That's literally all
I
it
don't,
is.
'cause I don't think like that when I think interracial. I think of a variety,
too.
but there
Me
are
too.
people who
yeah,
who
but I
genuinely
think it's because of the history of this country and what we've been through as black people. So we might feel a certain kind of way, you know, about not all the time, but I'm just saying, like, some of us might feel that way because of just how this country was built. Like, what, you gonna date a white girl after all we've been through?
So it's a little
You know,
less
it's like-
spicy.
For real?
But is it a little less spicy if you date Asian? Is it like, I mean,
Like,
like that's a
like,
little.
oh, they must have met on a, you know. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
You gotta have some.
But-
You gotta have some melanin in your
Right,
skin.
you
and
got
you
a
good.
little
you
bit,
good.
right. You dark
No,
enough.
she's
Yeah, come on.
Filipino though, but she's Filipino. So no, I'm
You
just
must have
kidding.
been on
No.
vacation. And
But I think there's a certain you know sting when it comes to just when you think
feel it.
about black
I feel
white,
it.
just
I feel it.
because.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with one of my friends. And we're talking about, like, you know, even the Karens that are calling the police on, you know, black men or black people in general. And it's like, you know, black women, we do a lot to protect black men. So sometimes it feels like a slight to us because we fight, we be fighting. And at the end of the day, is Karen going to fight for you? Not in the same way. I might fight for you because I understand your struggle as a black person in America. So I think there's a lot to unpack with the emotion of interracial dating when it comes to black, white. That I can speak on because that's what my experience and what I'm familiar with. So I can't say if there are different emotions between black, Asian, black, Hispanic. That's a glaring one to me because I think that's the largest clash that we have as black people. You know.
Yeah. No. I definitely agree with that because through watching a lot of other podcasts that talk about interracial dating, it's always black white. They never mention another race. And yes, that's the most common pairing of interracial couples is a black man, white woman. That's the most common. But that also is because white people have the majority of people on the planet. You know what I mean? And two, we've been conditioned to believe that white is supreme. So that I do agree with that. And I can empathize and understand where the sting would come from, where the extra sting would come from, because it's like, you know, like you said, after all of this, But this is what I will say to that. I am a firm believer that millennials on down need to detach from the older generations. And I personally believe, and I know you're on the, I know you're on the older end of millennial. So you're so you're closer to
I am
the baby, and you interact more with that age range, that demographic. I'm on the younger end of millennial. So for me, I can kind of see where the transitions in human beings are taking place, where more people are more cultured, where they're more accepting, they're more open, they're more viable, I guess. No, that's not the right word. They're more inclined to learn more about people outside of their culture. Now, do they do the best job of doing that? No. But they are more open to doing it.
Yeah, I agree
don't
with
see,
that.
and going back to your click mentality, I don't think it's okay to do that at 13. Because when do you make the mental switch? Minds don't just click on, oh, now we're not going to be in cliques no more. Because we still do it as adults. We have our cliques. Whether it's a race clique, whether it's a status clique, whether it's a whatever clique, we all still click up. And I hate that. I've never been the type to click up. I was cool with everybody in high school. I don't care if you were goth, nerd, jock. I don't care what you were. I was cool with you. And I think that has translated very well with me over into my adulthood because I can literally have a conversation with any type of human being. I don't care who you are. I can come to your level and we can have a very productive conversation. So I don't agree that we should allow the clique mentality and the, oh, this is just because they're kids stuff. I think we should put a lot more emphasis on being an accepting human being. And then through being an accepting human being, I feel you could have even more of an appreciation for your own culture if you knew more about other cultures. If you only know your culture, then you're either going to hate it or love it. And that's just the only two ways it can go. I firmly believe that I have a better appreciation for being black, from getting to know and talk to individuals in other cultures extensively, not just, hey, how's it going? Do you like football? No. What makes you tick? Why do your parents feel this way? What does this mean? I'll see something from another culture and I'll straight up ask, like, yo, I'm confused. Like, why do you guys do this? Like, what is this? What does it mean? And why does it affect you? Why did what I say impact you? And they do the same to me. And I think it helps me to be a better human and to have a better appreciation for my own culture, because I understand, dang, well, we doing it like this, and this is how, they going through it, and vice versa. So I personally believe, like, no, we need to nix all this, like, oh, they're just young, so this is how it is, because we do learn most of this stuff when we're younger. A lot of this stuff that we're talking about now, like Shad, he carried something from college. That was how many years ago? It was a long time ago, and that stuck with him. And I have things that stuck with me from even younger than that. So this does come from young, and that's why, like I said, I think we need to detach from these older generations, because they carry around so much. They don't know that they do it, but they carry around a lot of hate. And I realized that when I moved around a lot, and then I went back to my community that I once had a connection to, that I once felt like we were all similar. And when I went and became more versed in all these different cultures, and I met all these different types of people, black, white, Hispanic, and other races, and then I went back and I listened to the same verbiage that I agreed with when I was younger, the same verbiage that I just allowed to sit on my brain. And I'm like, oh, what was I joining in on this before? Like, was this really how we talked growing up? And you start to realize, like, dang, a bubble's not a good thing. It's not good to just only be around the same thought processes, the same people who have been through the exact same stuff as you, because then y'all just, what do? Y'all compound hate. We just gonna complain together, just a circle jerk of complaining. And that's just what it becomes. So I'm a very, very, anytime somebody comes up to me and they're like, yo, I'm thinking about moving to another, do it. Go. And go by yourself. Meet as many people as you can.
But that's what I mean. So when I say, like, at 13, it's okay, I don't mean okay like, oh yeah, just let them do whatever. But at 13, like, have you ever spoken to, like, a 5-year-old and you're like, oh, why do you like it? Because I like it. They don't have that level of necessarily reasoning. There are some.
It's changing.
There are some that have that level of, like, critical thinking and reasoning. But I'm saying at 13, I may not have the type of high-level conversation with a 13-year-old that I might have with a 30-year-old who should already have had these experiences, possibly have moved, actually made an intention to get out. And that's what I'm saying. A 13-year-old can't necessarily, like, move and do things like that. So at 13, you only have a certain level of experience. You're going to be at home. You're going to be in your neighborhood, right?
No, you're not giving them enough credit.
No. And again,
but they don't. So you're saying a 13-year-old has the same access to these different cultures, all these different things.
Instagram,
that
Twitter.
But you have it as your parent. You
but
have
this
it,
is, but this
and
is
it's
what I'm
on
saying.
you
But
to
people,
put them in those positions.
Right, but not everyone has the same parents. I'm saying the average 13-year-old, right? Not everyone is going to have great parents. Not everyone is going to not every parent is going to make it intentional for their children to be exposed to certain things. There are so many different lifestyles that kids have, right? And you don't have. I mean, now maybe it's possible to have your own money. I don't know what 13-year-olds are doing right now. I don't. I mean, social media. Boomer. But I mean, social media. I mean, I guess there's ways to make money when you're 13 on the internet, because we didn't have that at 13. But I'm just saying the level is not the same as a full adult. You can't say the level's not the same.
But what I'm saying is, I think the standard should be to get these kids immersed. I don't think the standard should just be, everyone doesn't have decent parents. I don't think but being a subpar parent should be okay.
But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's not okay for kids to have that. I'm not saying they should click up and they should push people out, or they shouldn't learn about other cultures. They should, and the parents should be intentional about exposing their children to those things. For this reason, that we're having this conversation. That I agree with, yes, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that I'm not going to. I just have when I think developmentally about children versus adults, there are certain things that I'm not just going to be like, I'm not going to talk or say certain things to a 13-year-old in the same way I would say to a 30-year-old. I just can't. yes, you should talk to children as if they're people, absolutely. Like I do that with my 4-year-old nephew, but I'm just saying that there also has to be a level of understanding of where they are mentally, so I'm not gonna, something I might say about Shad, oh yeah, Shad, I'm not gonna talk about like that, talk about a 13-year-old like I would about a 30-year-old. So that's what I mean when I say, okay, it's understandable, because that happens in all middle schools, elementary schools, regardless of the upbringing of parents, because I know kids who have great parents who may have done some things in elementary school that they weren't proud of, or bullied someone or whatnot, but that may not have been what they were taught. I'm just saying, as a child, there are so many different things that I would probably, and I don't want to say pardon as in not disciplined, but I'm just not going to give that same level of scrutiny to a 13-year-old that I would to a 30-year-old. That's what I mean with that.
Shad, I know you was ready to chime in.
I mean, like, it's, like, I understand, like, yes, parenting, that's very valid. But again, like, as far as like kids having access to certain things to developmentally understand different scenarios. Like, again, like I work in a school, like I'm a elementary school, kindergarten kids to 4th, 5th grade, like 10, 11 years old. Like I can think about, off the top of my head, 10 conversations I've sat down and had with kids about stuff that they've seen on YouTube, and they start to draw their own perceptions about people. Like, oh, I want to meet this white person because I think they have a lot of money because this is what I saw on YouTube, and they do this in their town. So like they're already, yes, like, and again, like.
But that's assuming they even have Wi-Fi at home. There are some kids that don't.
There's a lot of kids, nah. Again.
So you're saying every child has access to internet?
I won't say every child, but again, that's another thing that I don't like. I don't like when people generalize and think that.
I'm just trying to understand what you're saying
the community I work in is underserved. All them kids, they have phones. They have Instagram. They're on YouTube. Like the one, like
not all kids.
But again, I feel like people
majority where?
Majority of children, period.
But where's your statistic for that?
I mean, poor isn't the only demographic.
Yeah, like even
and like most schools have Wi-Fi as well. Like these kids are seeing this stuff.
But okay,
you can have a kid that has no phone, but I guarantee you 4 out of 5 of his friends are gonna have phones, and they all are on that phone. And kids are seeing the world. I think people
I know
think
that kids are seeing the
like
world,
Waka
but all I'm
saying
saying is you
day.
can't discount. Like, for example, when COVID happened, there were a lot of kids that didn't even have food to eat, so had to go to these food banks because they were dependent on school lunches. So I'm just saying you can't automatically say that a majority of kids have access to these things or to other worlds or other cultures, because I don't know the statistics, so I can't speak on that. But I'm not going to assume that a majority of kids have access to that.
Again...
I wish I could pull up a number for you.
I wish I could too,
bet
but
my
again,
life that it is majority of children. And I can, and you know what? I'd be willing to bet my life that majority of those children that went to those food banks still have phones.
Yes.
Still are on the internet.
I'm not going to speak on that.
Still are on YouTube. Or else these things wouldn't thrive.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. They wouldn't thrive. Now, I do understand, like, yes, there are individuals that do not have access to these things, and that should be addressed. But at the end of the day, when we speak about planning for a large group of people, like planning for society, you have to plan to the majority. You can't plan to the minority. That's not a successful
But aren't
recipe.
millennials the biggest group right now?
Possibly, yeah.
That doesn't include these little kids.
But then that's what I'm saying. Like, we need to make it so that they have it better. I think when people are the large group, they are selfish with it. And that's what I'm saying. We have to make this shift, this change. We have to.
I think the shift is happening with millennials, though.
It is. If we cut off the older generations.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think we need them for anything other than support.
I believe, because millennials, it's what, 81 to
Not
what?
81. I think it's 83 to 96.
Something like that. Yeah. So that age group are the ones making the shift.
Yeah, we're on top right now.
Yeah, they're making the shift. It's not going to be our parents, and
I'm sorry, no. Not at all.
But yeah.
You said you don't see the shift?
The shit you're talking about, the shift as in terms of what?
Like mentality, like just
mentality around what? Or interracial dating?
humans. No, like just oh no, interracial dating is definitely
now
changing.
we're talking about the.
That's definitely changing.
The
perception?
I don't think so.
I do.
Wait, of what? Now say it again.
The mindset when it comes to interracial dating for millennials, like I don't think anything has changed. I think
it's definitely
I think more people are inclined to date outside of their race, but I still think
That's a change.
But I still think there are a majority who look down upon it.
Oh yeah, I mean, but even those numbers are shifting. Those numbers are shifting. Like you can look at every decade, there are more and more interracial relationships. Like those numbers are definitely
they're
so more
increasing.
people are comfortable dating outside their race, but I still think it's still damn near the same amount of people who look down upon it, like in our.
I think it's lessened.
I do think. I think every year when people pass away, we lose people of those older cloths. You know what I mean? And then too, like even if you take it to jobs, right? And I think this has a direct effect on people's ability to perceive humans differently. So if you look at, let's say, our grandparents, when they applied for a job, they were not competing with people in other countries, people in other states, even people in other cities. They literally worked in the same city that they grew up in, and they stayed in that city, and then they died in that city. So all of their ideologies came from that city. Nowadays, you are too confronted with other races. When I applied for my manager position at Lifetime, I was applying for all around the nation. They were bidding for me in Atlanta, North Carolina, Michigan, Houston. So you're confronted with this. If I want to progress in life, period, I've got to move. And then what happens when I move? I am confronted with being outside of my bubble. So I think that has a direct effect on just, when you're not ignorant to something anymore, you can't run from it. So that's why I believe that the interracial dating statistics are going up, because we're just being confronted with the fact that what we thought before just might not be true. We can't just generalize other races and say that, oh, if I stay here, I'm just good. Because we have, every race has their own problems. I don't know if it's interracial when you date outside inside your race, right? I was trying to think of like a term. I couldn't think of nothing big. Trying to be cool with it.
Interracial.
Yeah, I was trying to be cool with it. I couldn't be cool with it. It's all good. But inside your own race, you have your own issues. So I think people are starting to realize, like, as they're being forced into all these different cultures and meeting all these different people, we all the same. It ain't that much of a difference. So I think those ideologies that they're talking about, like the people that just hate it, I think it's going down. If I had to bet my left arm on it, because I need my right one, I think it's going down.
I think it's going down because of, like you're saying, I think there is mentality shifting, or people are just getting exposed to more and having more conversations with people, or just making more connections. But I also think that there's also a level of not turning their energy towards certain things. So I'll speak for myself personally. I would say I'm not as offended as I might have been when I was 15, when boys were saying ignorant stuff, about why they're not going to date a black girl, you know what I mean? Because it's just like I'm not going to give my energy to that kind of stuff now. It's like whatever's for me is going to be for me. That's like that's my mentality. So I think there's a level of that kind of insightfulness that people have now too. It's like, I shouldn't be concerned with what these people are doing. I think it just becomes like when 50 and Lil Wayne were talking about exotic women, right? I think it's when it's put in our face like that, right, is when everything is magnified. But I think, like, just with my personal experience, I feel like there's more of like, okay, whatever. But, like, you might think certain things in your head, but it's not like you're going on a protest tomorrow. But, of course, when things are put in public display, like 50 and what's his name, that's when you get aggravated, especially when you start reading the comments and you start seeing people actually agreeing with them. And then you're like, are you kidding me right now? Like, that's when it's just, that might be why you feel like there's more.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
because that's the thing. Like that's what I'm getting at. Because yes, 50 Cent and Lil Wayne, that's a good example. Like, they're superstars. They're well known. They made those comments, and people came for them. That stuff trickles down to Joe and Susan on the street. When you see them walking together, your mind is still on what you heard about 50 Cent on Only Date Exotic Women, and you see Joe with the Asian girl, and then boom, that goes back to that
what I was saying,
preconceived,
yeah.
when you don't even know nothing about them. So like how so that's why I feel like it's not changing, because I feel like it's more in our face now, and everyone has an opinion. Everybody wants to have an opinion about someone's relationship. It could even be a relationship that you don't even that nothing has even happened, where you start creating your own stories and ideas about why this, like Kanye and Kim Kardashian. Like, I've seen thousands of these stories that people make up. Like, are you a detective? Like,
But see,
how are
but
you
that
coming
goes
up
back
with
to
these
what I was saying in the beginning, because of that 50 and Lil Wayne conversation, right? It's kind of like when when police brutality happens for the umpteenth time, and you got to go to your white job, and you're like, man, I want to look at nobody today. It's heightened that day because something just happened, right? So it's the same thing, like with, you're thinking about that 50 and Lil Wayne conversation, and the next minute you see something, you're like, man, you just get aggravated. So I think it's like, I'm not saying that it's right, but I'm saying that it's a valid emotion to feel based on your experience of whatever just happened.
But that's why I don't feel like it's changing, because you even said that you're at an age now where you are able to kind of like turn it off and just kind of brush it off, as when you were younger you let it affect you. I don't think that's the case. I think people are holding on to these things, and they're putting them on other people that they don't have any connection with.
But this is the difference. So instead of me going to the comment, because old Vicky would have been in them comments like, but now I can look at it and be just like, these fools, right? So that it's the difference between evaluating that and whether you're taking action or not. That's what I mean.
I think let's go back to the social media thing, because and we can go back to cancel culture, that podcast that we did. I think what you're seeing is that more people who hate it have a voice. I don't think it's necessarily that it's more of them. I think they're just able to be more heard now.
Yeah.
But I don't agree that the numbers are rising. I think the voice is louder.
Yeah, I don't think numbers are rising. I think it's this, like I said, I think it's the same. I don't think
you
anything
just think
is,
that hasn't changed.
Yeah, I don't think anything's changed.
I just think that strategically that pot is easier to stir. Because if all I gotta do is I could put 30. I could have a whole Instagram. You know what I'm saying? I can put up 30 posts praising Black women or Asian women. Let's say I'm an Asian man. I can put 30 posts praising Asian women. I put one post up that says, you know what? I think I like this white woman over here. And then it's chaos.
Yeah.
So that pot is just easier to stir, because I think a lot of people have not dealt with whatever trauma that they have. Now, that I will say about the younger generation, they do a shit job of dealing with their traumas. And it's kind of difficult to do, because with social media and everything, it's like our scabs never close. They're always open, because as soon as people see that, oh, that 50 Cent and Lil Wayne thing was a hot take, oh, let me dig up somebody else's tweets. I'm going to put that out, and it's going to keep, the scab keeps on growing.
Yep.
So I don't believe that there are more people who are against interracial dating. I just think that their voices are a little louder. They're able to find each other, because just like I'm able to find somebody in Europe, they able to find, just like the people who love people are able to find people, the people who hate people are able to find people too. They can build bigger cliques now, bigger communities now. They have bigger pages and bigger influence. So I don't necessarily think they're growing. I think they're just all finding each other. They're all able to communicate with each other, and they're all able to be on the same accord. And you already know how sheep work. My best friend hate her, so we all hate her. That's how it goes. So I don't necessarily think that the hate towards interracial dating is growing. I actually think it's going down. I just think that they're in a more concentrated area, so they can scream louder. You know what I mean? It's kind of like 50 protests with one person versus one protest with 50 people. It's going to feel like there's more people in that one protest with 50 people, but it was the same people. They just all got together and was like, you know what, we're just going to be loud this one time, right? Social media allows them to do that. So to end this one off, I kind of want to, let's give some advice to those who may come into contact with someone of another culture, and maybe how they can approach that. Even if they are someone who has devoted themselves to only dating within their culture, because I think there's a respectable way to turn that down. I still think you can learn from other cultures, even if you decide not to date them. So let's give some advice to people. Let's give some advice to people on how they can act when meeting people of other cultures.
Wait,
I love all the thinking.
You gotta.
I love all. Look at Vicky.
Can we reword this question?
You want to reword it?
Wait.
Okay, so okay, I got you.
You want me to give advice?
Yeah, I want us to give advice on how people can come into scenarios with other people of other races.
Oh, how they can.
In terms of dating?
Dating or otherwise.
How they can put themselves in places to meet other
how
people.
they should be prepared to come into those situations.
Oh,
if you need me to start, I can start. I can answer the question, and then I can kind of give y'all some.
Let's do that.
I can kind of give y'all some, you know what I'm saying?
I
Some
mean,
insight
I'm good.
on what I'm talking about. You can go ahead, Shad.
So, I mean, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about our Scarlet Letter brother.
Dude.
Like, he ain't trying to hear nothing we talking about,
I can't
bruh.
wait, I
Should we
can't
give
wait
him
till
a
we watch
shout-out?
it. I
Give him
can't
a
wait till we watch.
shout-out?
No, I know the people already gonna know.
He ain't trying to hear nothing we bring it to the table. We done sat down with this dude and then had
Hey,
these
this
kind of
about to be the
conversations.
longest podcast. Track 'em.
It's like, nope,
Click
nope,
to this one.
not me. Ain't doing it. Can't do it. Won't do it. Can't do it.
Okay, so that goes back to why I'm asking this question. Because I don't mind anybody having if they want to be devout to their culture. Totally, hey, like I said, you like it, I love it. Do you? But don't be to the point where you're just shunning people. You won't even listen to another individual. That's where I have a problem. And that's where this question comes from. If you want to date interracially, cool, because I think it goes both ways. You can stay within your culture and not bash everybody else, and you can date outside your culture without bashing your culture. I think that's just being a decent human being. I don't think we need to bash everybody else. You don't need to make someone else smaller for you to go larger. It's not how this works. If I win a race, it's because I was the fastest, not because I kicked this dude and made him slower. You know what I mean? So that's where this question comes from, is how can people get out of this mindset of just generalizing all the time? Come into human interactions with a clean slate. When I met all of you guys, I came in with a clean slate. I don't know nothing about Vicky, so I'm going to let Vicky tell me about Vicky. I'm going to interact more with Vicky so I can learn what Vicky is like. Not, okay, so she got the box braids, she got the red lipstick. What does that say about her? No, just come in, let her talk, and then you get to find out, okay, this is what Vicky's like. I like this or I don't like this, right? Me and Vicky can be friends or we can't be friends based on the interactions that we had. So that's where I'm going with that. Whether you stay inside or outside, how should you come into these interactions?
Yeah, you pretty much summed it all up. Like, I feel like, so everyone has like preconceived ideas and notions about different people, but I would suggest that when you're going to have a conversation with someone, or even or if you're pursuing someone to be in a relationship with them, go in with your preconceived notions, but be open to listening, to like really sitting and listening to someone speak, talk about what it is, whatever it is that you guys are conversing about, and build your relationship with that person individually. Don't let the masses influence your relationship that you have with people. I feel like a lot of people, they go into certain situations and they have a certain thought, and they don't even start to even like listen and try to understand where someone's coming from, why they live their life a certain way. And that's where I feel like we kind of get into trouble with certain things. But again, I feel like if you're able to just have an open mind, go in, listen, talk, be accepting to a certain degree, unless there's some stuff that's out of pocket, I feel like that we can do a better job at just again understanding people and who they are, where they come from. So, yeah.
I think it's, of course, being, open-minded, whether you're interested in someone of a different culture or race, or whether they're interested in you. I think it starts with having the ability to check your motives and check your intentions. If you're interested in a particular person, or maybe you have a pattern of gravitating towards a certain race or ethnicity, culture, whatever it may be, ask yourself, okay, is it because I align myself with these, with these cultures? Is it because of like media or something, or this is what is perceived to be beautiful in a person, so that's why I'm gravitating towards it. So I think it just comes with practice, honestly. Even if it's just platonic relationships of people that you meet, it just comes with practice with, okay, what did I think about this person? Okay, let me make sure that I at least give them a chance to whatever it is that they're saying, whatever kind of conversation you're having. Like, let me at least listen to them. Let me at least give them a chance as a human being to get to know them. So just being able to check yourself, I think, is the biggest thing, and check any preconceived notions or prejudices or whatever it is that you might have before you get into anything, any type of relationship. And being able to ask, I think I won't say a lot, but it's difficult to be able to have that ability to ask yourself those questions and be real with yourself. But I think it's necessary just so that you know that your basis for liking someone is based on something solid, not on something superficial or a stereotype.
Ooh, I love it. I love both y'all, man. That was I couldn't have said that better myself. That's why I brought y'all. But no, I love what you said about your motives. You have to question yourself and know, why am I pursuing this person? Why am I even pursuing a relationship, period? Right? I have said this on many occasions. I believe that if you want to be in a relationship, you have to prioritize that, and you have to make it intentional. It can't just be like, oh, whoops. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. You got to know full well why you're coming into this, why you want this. And then also, like your statement of, be prepared to be wrong. Be prepared to have some of these things that you had in your mind not be right. Don't be so stubborn and just holding on to your prejudices. Be okay with being wrong. That's perfectly fine. I'm gonna be wrong today. I'm gonna be wrong tomorrow. I might have a podcast in a year and have some totally different thoughts. Be okay with being wrong. It's fine. Somebody might scrutinize you for, so what? And that's how I want to end it. Be okay with coming into a conversation. Maybe we're all gonna have our preconceived notions.
All the
we're
time.
human beings.
Yep.
That's how it goes. But if you're wrong and it turns out to be a different way, that's fine. That's called growth. That's called being a human. And that's called the end of season 1 for the Raw Daddy Hour. I would like to thank all of you for kicking it with us for an entire season, 8 episodes. Y'all stuck with us through it. I want to thank my multiple time guests, Shad and Vicky, and everyone else who has been a part of the pod, everyone who has helped us make this podcast what it is right now. The support has just been, it has really melted my heart. And my heart is already cold, so I don't know how it melts. But I want to thank you guys, and we will catch you guys in season 2.